am the king, 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 king. I am the king, 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 king. I am the king, 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 king. I am the king, 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 king.
Welcome to episode 12 of Kings of the Village. I'm Stephion, and welcome to our very first Pride in America and what it means to be black, gay, and proud in America. Today we're talking about white people and do we need or require their support, and why don't they show up to our events, and the attack on trans America and what we need to do to protect them, and what some prides are doing in lieu of their traditional pride season. And plus, we have a special guest, host of A Streamable Life from Indiana. We have that and much more as we start our Pride series, Gay, Black, and Proud. It's all next on the Kings of the Village. Tune in right now or on any streaming devices.
I am the king and will not be. I am the king, and will not.
All right, welcome into the conversation. You can always be a part of the conversation at 816-266-9447 or listen anytime on any streaming platforms like iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts, of course. And you can always email us your comments, questions, or concerns to kingsofthevillage@yahoo.radio. I'm Stephion, and I am joined by a very special guest, my homie from the Hoosier state of Indiana, from A Streamable Life. And he is a proud native of Indiana. I don't know why, because I had to get the hell out of there. But I guess if that works for him, I guess he loves Indiana, but I don't miss it at all. And he loves all things pop culture and entertainment. Please welcome Lauren to the show.
Hello, hello.
Hey, how are you? What's going on, boss? What is happening in your world? How are you taking all this in before we get to all the black, gay, and proud particulars? How are you handling all this stuff going on? It is crazy out in the world.
Yeah, it's insane, and like it's definitely amazing to see because we've had this happen so many times before, but it's definitely hitting a different peak where things look like they're about to change. Like it's been like a decade of these movements and more attention, but this just seems different.
What makes it
in
seem
a good way?
Yeah, but what makes it seem different? Because I think we've heard this before when people have marched and, people rub our backs and, they love on us and say, you know what, I'm listening and I hear you guys and I get it. And then when the protesters go home and the streets are back open and we're back shopping at Old Navy and the Gap and we're drinking our lattes in the street. But this time, I do agree. But what feels different? Because I think we do need to explain the age difference. But what specifically feels different to you? And then I'll tell you what feels different to me, being 43 and you being in your 20s.
Well, I'm 33 this year.
Oh, my God, you are old. I didn't know you were that old.
Yeah.
Wow, you're old.
To me, like, just seeing the wealth of support from not only just black people, but people from all walks of life, especially white people, and their willingness to actually listen this time, and just seeing the ways in which people around me, the white people around me, and other black people around me, noticing how it's not falling on deaf ears this time. We've seen the video recordings like that, but for some reason, all of a sudden, they actually get it this time, which is better late than never. But that's the difference I've seen.
They're only about 100 years behind. I mean, it's not too bad. So at least something is happening. At least in my lifetime, being 43, and so I guess 10 years older than you. I just remember being in high school in '92, watching the Rodney King beatings, and them being not charged after 30, 40 cops beat the hell out of this African-American guy, Rodney King. If you don't know who that is, go look it up. But, people had enough in LA. And so they start burning down the city. Like, what can we do? Because we have no power other than to tear up shit. And so they tore up shit. I believe you see looting from people who are not necessarily black, not necessarily mad at the inequality and injustice. I think there's some people planted there. I think there's a whole bunch of other people that has inserted themselves to attack some things, but I think there are a lot of people who are frustrated and feel like they don't have a voice or any powers to do anything. So I'm going to tear up the city. It is good to see, though, now that people said, okay, we got that out of the way. We burnt up enough stuff. We've tore up enough stuff. So now we're going to get on our knee. We're going to protest. We're going to stand together. We're going to come out. And today, on this particular day, they've seen more people than they've ever seen. So I like that it's going in the opposite direction. People thought, okay, it's 2 weeks and we're going to die down. But no, people are coming out in droves now. LA seen some 50,000 people. New York, about the same numbers. DC seen about the same numbers. So I think this is a mass movement. I love that the young people and old alike are saying, we're not going to go home until something changes. I won't go home until I can go home. I won't leave these streets and protest until I'm able to. And I think they're trying to either debunk or reform policing. I don't think anybody, Lauren, wants to get rid of police. But we know something needs to change. And I'm tired of hearing about training because you can't train a racist. You can't train a racist. What needs to probably happen is we need to hire differently. We need to do a more thorough background. Like some of these people, we looked into their background and they had black faces on and KKK member applications in their house and stuff they've seen online. The world is so tech savvy. It's not that hard to dig up somebody's background. You can, Lauren, you can look at my background and see that I like to cuss and drink, and you don't even have to know me. So it's pretty easy to find out some personal things about Stephion. So I call BS on, we just don't know. How can y'all know everything else about everybody in this world? If I look at a credit card, the next time I log into Facebook, I'm getting 16 credit card offers. You can find my patterns of my life. I don't know how they do it, but they know who all the people I'm in contact with. And they was like, would you like to be friends with Lauren? I'm like, I just texted him for the first time since 1987, but somehow he came up on my feed. We can find out what we want to find out on people. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And like the extent of training they get 4 months, you go through more of that to just get a regular job at McDonald's.
Hello.
So.
That is so true. I didn't even think about that because I know the particular 9 to 5, my regular job, my training was 6 months. And like you said, police get trained, 90 days to 4 months or whatever it is. And they have human lives. They're responsible. They have sworn an oath to protect human lives. And I believe a lot of them take advantage of it. I really do. I think they take advantage of the powers. And then I think there's a lot of them, Lauren, that are just downright frustrated, downright scared. And, they see people like me close to 6 feet, 200 pounds, and they're intimidated. I don't know why, because they have the weapons. I call it the weapons of mass destruction because they own our lives. Once they pull us over, us being African Americans, specifically men, we are powerless at that point. If we even look like Lauren, we're going to do something, we're done for. In a moment's notice.
And that's why the whole fear for my life thing is just frivolous because your whole entire job, the risk for your life is the job. You signed up for that. But your job isn't to just kill everything you see. It's to de-escalate and protect. And they can't even do that with people who are running away with no weapon or standing there with a weapon or not even a gun. It's just ridiculous.
It is insane, insanity, unjust, downright frustrating, or whatever adjectives or verbs you want to use to describe it. By now, everybody in America is probably aware, unless they've been, I don't even know if you can go to New Zealand and not know what's happening. The death of George Floyd has sparked something in everybody, has stirred up your conscience to make you alive again, if you will, in terms of what is happening that has been unjust around our world for about 100 years plus, or probably way, way more than that. But not just George Floyd, but many, many others who have been gunned down and beaten down. So I'm glad to see it. I'm not, when I'm saying glad to see it, I'm glad that something has sparked something in people. I'm not glad that this has happened. We don't want to see anybody killed or beaten by anybody, but I am glad that something in this particular moment, out of all these police brutalities, this particular time, they said, no way. You messed with the wrong generation, bruh. This is not today. We can't. Not anymore. So,
right.
Lauren, I am very glad to see that, and I am glad to have you on this show today. I'm glad to talk to you today in our series of Black, not just Black Lives Matter, but Black Gay Lives Matter, and kicking off our Pride series. But before we get into that, tell the people a little bit about who you are, how you started in podcasting. Tell us a little bit about the show, a little bit about you. We don't care too much about you. I don't care if you're top or bottom. I don't want you to get too crazy. But tell us a little bit about your background and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, but like you said, I'm an Indiana native, Richmond to be exact, and went to graduate high school 2006, college 2010. With a degree in journalism, and wanted to focus on entertainment, news, and whatnot. So that didn't happen, but my podcast is geared toward TV and film, something I am very passionate about. And like you said, it's called A Streamable Life. It's available on most platforms, and it comes out weekly on Wednesdays. Me and my cousin discuss specific shows we're watching by week, films we might have seen, other things we're binging, and then we always have a feature presentation topic that we discuss and dissect.
So what are you guys working on this week? Or have you already put out something?
No, we'll be recording tomorrow, but this week the episode will focus on the ATX TV Festival that happened this past weekend. It's usually in Austin, but because of COVID-19, it was canceled, so they moved everything to a virtual event.
How's that been, though? Because you told me a little bit about that. Like, what is that like watching, I don't know, an event on television? Is it like watching Coachella live on YouTube? Because I did that, and I got my whole life when Beyonce performed at Coachella, and I was like, well, obviously I'm not there, so we watched it, and it was like, it was lit.
It was so phenomenal, yeah. They don't have the same budget as a Coachella, but they were able to do things through Zoom. So most of the panels were done through Zoom, whether pre-recorded or live. And then where they would have had a screen of the show or whatnot, they may have shown like a few minutes of the show, because I don't think they were able to like show the complete show with those rights, because it was all through their YouTube channel. But they would show a clip of the show and then have the panel afterwards, or they have table reads. So it was like watching maybe a webinar type thing, or just video conference. But it was still really informative and fun, and you could chat through YouTube or even through Twitter. So
that's not, okay. That's dope. I'm gonna have to be down. So probably next year we'll be able to go there in person. So if it is, I'm gonna get out to some of these events and Coachella. I don't know if any of this will open up anytime soon, but we do know it's Pride season. That for sure we do know. We do know that. And I think what is important to mention, that we do have a lot of Pride events that are deciding they're going to do something in they're going to do, and when I say something, they're going to do something for the Black Lives Matter movement instead of having their traditional prides. There are several Pride organizations in many everywhere to regular Los Angeles, California, to uplift the Black LGBTQ community this month. So for those who don't know, throughout the month of June is Pride Month. Pride organizers are shifting their programming to virtual formats, obviously to online streaming that Lauren was just talking about. Now, a lot of people, Lauren, will still be meeting up, but there will be a lot of Pride Fest like Los Angeles that announced that they'll be doing something to march with the protesters, which is exciting. So instead of their regular parade that they normally have June 14th, they'll be marching for Black Lives Matter. San Francisco also announced from their mayor's office that they'll be doing something in honor as well of the Black Lives Matter movement. And of course, New York on June 26th, they will host their virtual rally and take a stance against police brutality and discrimination, which is exciting to hear, and on and on and on. Even Pride, Lauren, in Toronto is doing a virtual Pride. They have added to their calendar which has been rolled out, and they have several events they plan to stream in honor, obviously, of Pride, but also for the Black voices like yours and mine, which they're called the Black Queer Collective stream, which will be happening June 28th, which will highlight and prioritize the stories and experiences of the Black, queer, and trans community in Toronto. And then Proudly Resilient will also be doing something. And they're trying to partnership with 51 different events held over 30 days. So I will add a link. It's actually from Vogue magazine, who released this information yesterday. Actually, no, it wasn't yesterday. I actually listed this information June 4th. And there's a whole host, Lauren, of events going on. What say you to this? How does this make you feel? Is it enough to say, I'm going to give some of my platform? Is that a start, or do we need more tangible resources? Like these large prides, like LA Pride, when I lived in LA, was massive. I don't know, probably close to 1 million people over the course of a week attended. And it wasn't free. I'll just say that. There were tons of vendors, $40 to get in. Some of the application fees are $500 to $600. Some of the acts on the stage, spent to have a space on that stage. There were several stages, several bars, and that brought in a ton of money. Mm-hmm. Is this enough? I'm glad it's happening, but is this enough to say, I'm standing with you, I'm going to put you on my website, here's a banner, I'm walking with you?
I would say it's a start, and because of the current climate, they had to do something, because if not, they wouldn't have. But I'm glad they are, but we can't stop there. Like for the future, when Pride wraps up or whatnot, they need to literally have, I don't know if these organizations will set up think tanks or whatnot, but discussions on the racism within the LGBT community, especially from white gays, because even since George Floyd's death and Black Lives Matter marches, the posts and things I've seen from white gays that I don't know, but people have retweeted, have just been horrible and abhorrent and ignorant, and they don't get it. And sort of glad, I'm glad these discussions are happening now about race, because it affects every facet of life. So every marginalized community or unrepresented group, there's racism within those subcultures.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So there's definitely a start, but there's going to have to be more. It's going to be discussions. It's going to have to be some uncomfortable conversations and some real change.
Absolutely. And I think that's where it starts, obviously. The uncomfortable conversations, people also making a deep commitment to the community. And again, for me, I love it. I love the back rubs, and I stand with you, but I need more. I need some tangible stuff. And I think, obviously, the Black community, we have to do our work. Like, we have to set the example, and the people who have the finances and resources and the actual places to house some of these things, we got to step up to, right? Just like me and you using our platform on our shows, our programs. Everybody can do something from where they are, Lauren. It doesn't matter what you do. You don't have to have $8 million in your account like you do. You can start from wherever your platform is, whether it is organizing something at your 9 to 5. There are many corporations, especially like mine that I won't mention, that is already, taking a stance on what they're going to do for the GLBT community and what they're going to do for people of color, period. And whether it's going to donate to Black businesses, whether we're going to show up at Pride events and support them and give them some resources or some financial reviews for free, or tell them how to properly invest their money, or either give them access to getting business loans from us, or even possibly donating. So there are a lot of companies, and I'm sure that are like mine, where all you have to do is reach out to your volunteer services or whatever that's called at your job and say, hey, here's what I'm thinking about doing. But it can start anywhere. You don't even have to have $1 in your account, and you can do something from right where you are, Lauren.
Exactly.
So which now brings me to my point. Do we require or do we need the support of white prides? And now I'm talking about black prides. You know, there's a lot of black prides, and there are a lot of large ones. They're like DC Pride, black prides in Los Angeles, probably the New York Black Pride. Chicago, I think, has 2 black prides. And Indiana has a black pride that I helped start. I was one of the founding members there. So there are several black prides across these United States that are part of an organization. But we don't always have the resources to do it big. We can't get Jennifer Hudson and Big Axe and, dare I say RuPaul, because I've seen RuPaul, but it wasn't at our pride. It wasn't our event.
Yes, she would come.
Should we require anything for them, or do we keep, staying in this race alone? Or is it time for them to step up? Because one thing I know for sure, Lauren, when they have a pride, we're there. And we're there in big numbers. We support them. We go to their after parties. We go to their events. We buy their liquor. We have showed up to their buildings and their clubs for several years. But when I look around at black prides, I probably see less than 1% of their population. Is it time for them to support us? Why or why not?
I think, and it will be more clear after the events of this month transpire and what they plan to do in the future. I don't think the support is mandatory, but it should be expected. And I think it goes both ways. I think there's a big, just like anything that originates in an underrepresented population, they probably, one, think, oh, I'm not allowed to go. You see that with anything like that, black on it, Black Student Union, NAACP, the black restaurant here, black films, that adjective, automatically think, oh, well, that's for them. I'm not permitted to go.
Right.
And then they do show up, then it's not in a way to support authentically or from genuinely. It's out of some type of fantasy or visualization that they've been taught, and it's just something, a face of support. It's not genuine. They don't have any other black friends. They don't show up to, the tough conversations when someone's killed, when someone's murdered, when we're weeping in the streets, but they're there for the BBC, BB whatever pride events. And that's it. So I think it's both of those things that keep them from attending events, and we've got to get rid of those stigmas and those ideas that it's not for them. While they can come and enjoy, it's definitely not theirs, because then you'll have people coming and want to take up space where it's not really necessary.
I have not thought of it quite like that, which is, I think that's dope, because I think that is definitely relevant. Because I think if you do because I know many times I see, the Walk for Asians or something, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to that. Or, because I was like, well, maybe that's not for me. But I think just like we're seeing whites and Asians and old and young walking for Black Lives Matter, it's because we support you. And I think we, even on the black side, need to do a better job of supporting other cultures as well. And I'm not talking about just the gay pride events, because, we're going to that because it's a big celebration and lots of liquor. But how come we don't show up for Asian Americas or China Fest or China New Year in New York and show up in droves for that? So I think that is very relevant and important what you're saying. It's like, okay, if it does have the black label on it, I'm not coming because that's not made for me. And I think that is so not true. And I think maybe we just need to do a better job of, I don't want to say this in a rude way, but making people feel welcome. I think we make people feel more welcome than any other culture. Let me throw that out there. But I think we need to make sure people understand it's for them. So maybe I'm not saying it right. Maybe we shouldn't be saying make them feel welcome, because I think in the black culture, we are the culture that will let everybody in. People don't always, I know for sure, make us feel welcome in certain establishments, restaurants, cities, states, towns, and regions. Hell, there's even cab drivers. Well, this is before Uber, that won't pick you up. They're like, oh, I don't go to that neighborhood. And hell, where there are cities where cabs still run versus Uber and Lyft, they're not picking your black ass up. But we will welcome everybody. We are always normally And maybe even where you work and where I work, we're the only person of color in the entire room, at the boardroom, at the meeting, and there may be somebody else who looks like us, maybe one or two. But I know when you go to the lunchroom, ain't nobody in that lunchroom looking like me. But we are supposed to perform and feel welcome. And then the group, listen to this, Lauren, it gets even smaller when you're black and gay. There is 3.3 million% chance that you are not going to see any other gay black person around you in a professional environment. Hell, go to the mall and you'll be hard pressed to find somebody that looks like you. It's just the truth. I go to many events and concerts throughout the year, as do you. And if it's not something, and I'm just going to say it, if it's not something related to Beyonce or Rihanna or something like that, the concert or events is probably going to be straight, black, white, or male, or black, straight, male. You're just going to be hard pressed to find a lot of people that look like me at these events, unless they have a large gay following like Britney Spears or Beyonce or Janet Jackson. But you're not going to see Travis Trent at a country fest musical, unless he just makes a huge statement with a rainbow flag and then we show up. But other than that, the world, is definitely not designed for black people, but it certainly is not made for me and you. And we're going to get a little bit of that when we go inside at the King's table today and we talk about the double standard on being black in America versus being black and gay in America. But I'm telling you, Lord, it's just, it's not a place for us. It's a place for people like Ellen. They welcome her. But, some of these, larger platforms that are made for the GLBT community are certainly not made for you and me.
Right.
Even somebody like RuPaul was called out when I believe she won, I guess because he doesn't live as a woman, but he lives as what would be the proper term, what he does? Drag? Because it is RuPaul's Drag Race. So he doesn't live as a drag queen, he performs and works professionally as a drag person or drag performer. But he was criticized because the only one on his staff that was a person of African-American descent was him. And he just played it off like, well, I'm the host and producer and executive of the show. That's enough black. No, but I'm like, that's one person. You have 200 white people standing behind you. I just don't think we're ever given a seat at the table. So, I know why we're definitely going to stay on being black in America because that's a part of it. But being black and gay in America is a double oppression. And what say you?
I definitely believe it because even with the Black Lives Matter movement happening right now, I constantly see people pushing back on people of the LGBTQ community protesting or advocating for black people as if our gayness eradicates that or pitting us in a position that have to choose, well, you're black first, this is a black thing, don't bring in that gay shit up right now, blah, 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 blue, blue, blue. And it's like, no, we're both at the same time. And if it wasn't for our community, most of y'all wouldn't be here. Because every black movement, or basically every movement in the country has been propelled by black people. Okay? And specifically the LGBTQ community, Pride was developed by black trans people. So we're always on the forefront fighting for the George Floyd and Trayvon Martins. We're always on the forefront fighting for black women and stuff, and we get the pushback that, oh, well, you're not part of this flow because you sleep with men or you sleep with women. And it's a judgment, I think, that sadly Muslims say it stems from the church, whatever, black church. I think it stems a lot from that, even though most of these folks don't even go to the church anymore because of their own trauma and whatnot, which is their business. But it stems from that, and again, it just stems from society being anti-gay either way. We made some strides, but those strides haven't really reached the black LGBTQ community as of yet.
Absolutely. So speaking of that, let's draw your attention to this story that many of you may have heard about, but I'm sure many of you have because it's been posted everywhere. So around I think we were ending the first week of protests and some rioters around June 3rd or maybe June 2nd. A black trans woman was attacked by a mob of Minneapolis protesters. About 30 people viciously attacked and beat a young black transgender woman as she attempted to seek shelter during the protests in a convenience store after she got into a car accident. The attack has, I would say, further fractured the community and brought up this conversation that you and I are having, but that many of us have been having for years. And how do you say her name? Is it?
I think it's Iyanna.
Iyanna Dior is her name, spelled Iyanna Dior, was swarmed by more than 30 people on Monday night, which was last week, in a violent attack captured on video, which I'm definitely not going to play any of that audio because it was disgusting to watch, but if you care to watch it, it's on every platform everywhere. The assault reportedly stemmed from a car accident, escalated tension in the community, with the LGBT community advocates saying that more needs to be done because as of today, no arrest from those people in the crowd, specifically African-American men who beat this person on her body, over the head, kicked, spit on her during this attack. Nothing has happened. And what I find interesting about all of this, which we have very clear footage, and she did report on her Facebook page that, I just got beat up, but I'm okay, and she was showing her bruises. But that's not the point. The point is, if we're protesting for Black Lives Matter, how in the midst of all this do we do something like that? Saying she is less than. Like, our lives matter, but yours does not. And why I'm so outraged about it is, while some celebrities and people with big platforms are finally saying something, where has been the voice for the transgender community for a lifetime? There are several reports in just 2020 that some 23 have already been murdered. And we don't know how many others have been murdered that has gone unreported. But last year, I think it was about the same number. And who knows how many have not been reported through our country. Why does this keep happening, and how does it keep happening, and where's the voice for these people? Because I think we're at a place now, Lauren, that we got the world's attention for Black Lives Matter. But I want some attention directed towards gay Black Lives Matter, Black trans lives matter.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I've seen advocacy on social media and whatnot from the community and people I follow, but there isn't much in the mainstream quite yet. We have some advocates, especially younger people in the community that are celebrities or influencers that raise their voice, but there's still more work to be done just to get the same level of respect and attention, I think. And again, it's that subgroup of a subgroup mentality where they may not say this, but their actions deliver that you have to wait your turn. This isn't about you. And even within the Black gay community and the LGBTQ community, there's a lot of anti-sentiments toward transgender men and women. You can even point to the murder of the trans man Tony McDade. That was a couple of weeks ago, or around the same time as George Floyd. And we've seen people try to raise consciousness and knowledge of this event, but it falls in deaf ears, and it's a pandemic in its own self, the murders of them happening by the hands of people in the community.
Over and over again. Like you said, people inside the community attack the trans woman. Outside of the community, they are viciously raped and left on the side of the road like trash many times. This is nothing new, especially if you are inside the community. And I just don't think, I think like you said, it's not met the mainstream media yet. But I do like the fact that there are many people that are now, recognizing that all black lives do matter. Gay, straight, gay, trans, and in between. There's a lot of labels that you can get into. You probably have to look up like a cis male or I don't even know all of them, and I'm gay. I don't know all the definitions of what it means to be black. All I know is I'm a gay black man. I know what a transgender woman is, but there are a ton of labels. But whatever it is, people need to educate themselves and direct their attention toward us. So inside the King's room today, we go inside the King's castle, Lauren, and we're going to talk about Black Lives Matter versus Black Gay Lives Matter. And do the Black gay lives and experience matter? That's our topic inside the King's castle. 9 joins me inside the King's Castle. Pull up a seat and get ready to sit down and engage in something a little deeper. You know, we hit a lot of topics about the gay experience and what that means and how that was. But I think it's important to recognize inside being a black man, being a gay black man and what that means and how different it is. I think a lot of people don't quite get it, don't quite understand what that means, because we are caught up right now of talking about what it is to be black in America. But then we need to also have the conversation, Lauren, about what it means to be black and gay in America as well. Because there are then fewer jobs like we already were talking about previously. So a lot of this we already kind of stepped on, but we know there's a massive difference. And Lauren, on the other end of this, when the protests have quieted down, where are we going to end up? Where will we be as gay black men? Will we be protected wholeheartedly now that people have come out and said, okay, I'm taking care of all people of color now? But who is going to take care of the black community, black gay community? Because even people inside the black community and black church don't even like us. They don't want to deal with us unless we're singing in their choir. So who's got our backs, Lauren? And what do we do about it?
Honestly, I think, first of all, we have to have our own backs first, because it's a perpetual stereotype that our community is untrustworthy of each other, is very critical of each other, just catty and petty and full animosity towards one another. So I don't want to get on a pedestal and say, well, we have to be better if they want to treat us better, but we have to start and have our own backs first before anything, because in the long run, if it's just going to be us, we will all believe God, so we've got to be able to uphold each other. Beyond that, I think, as we discussed, the racism, there will always be that conversation of homophobia nationwide, because it's still a systemic problem in all communities, but specifically in the black community. For the longest time, I can't speak for anyone else. I grew up, within the church and hearing those teachings and stuff like that, and most of the media and stuff I consumed, it just wasn't an idea that black men were gay, like to me at a young age, because you always either saw a white person, a white man, and they're feminine and stuff like that. So there wasn't any sort of example or depiction. There was maybe, Luther Vandross, who, without being told, I said, well, something's different about him, but, it wasn't talked about. It was hush hush, and people just went about their business. So you didn't really see any representation or examples of what you're feeling or if it even exists. And then when you find out in that predicament, in the situation you're in, you're saying, well, this must be a mistake. So you first have to come to terms with yourself and just being able to accept yourself regardless if you get support from anyone else. So I think we've just got to work on helping those in the journey, not bashing people where they are, and then beyond that, we just got to continue to educate and just show that we're just regular people. And if folks aren't able to accept that or change or understand, then like others, we'll have to just sort of remove them from your life. You can't have that animosity, negativity, that denial of your existence perpetually within your life.
Right, but we have always taken care of ourselves. Also, the straight, heterosexual black community. But look where it's gotten us. Because I'm telling you, without somebody supporting any type of community, in my opinion, we won't be able to push through. There has to be somebody at the head of the table, a lobbyist, somebody working in government, somebody in our own community, churches, people denouncing the hate against us. It is time. And I'm going to read a quote from Billy Porter, from the Billy Porter's Twitter and Instagram page. And I'm not going to play it because it's 16 minutes long. It is extremely long. But what he says is, quote, "I'm calling you out right here and right now. You cannot expect our demands of equality to be met with any real legislation policy and change when y'all turn around and inflict the same kind of hate and oppression on us." Speaking about straight black people or non-conforming people that inflict hate on us. The tragic reality here is that black trans, as well as gender non-conforming women and men are being killed in the United States by cis black men to such a degree that is nearly the worst emergency for trans women on the planet. To all my homophobic and transphobic brothers and sisters, get your fucking house in order, he added. You might want to check it out. It was a long video, about 16 minutes long, that I encourage anybody who is in or outside of the GLBT community. Many, many times that, the same people who are marching for rights, who are at the State House, who are walking the state capitol at this hour, who are walking the New York streets, who are walking the Kansas City, Indiana streets of America, fighting for equal rights, turn around and beat the shit out of a gay black person. Make fun of a little gay black boy because he is softer or tender or can't play basketball like you. And this is happening inside our own community every single day. Trans women are being attacked, murdered, abused, and killed every single day. My experience is this. We are certainly not equal as black people to any other race, but we are even less equal inside of our own race. Because it's like white people, black people, Asians, Hispanics, and then somewhere black gay people. We are like under the piles of everything else. Even if we even have a voice. I mean, we're so low on the pole, like I don't even know where we will land. I guess in the dirt or the pond. That's where we land. And I think Billy Porter hit on something. Like there's no way you can call for change or call for anything or call to action anything when you are also inflicting this towards us.
That's true. That's definitely true. And it's amazing. You'll look around and see the prime example. The creators of Black Lives Matter organizations are queer black women. You know, the people walking the front of the protest and demanding justice for all are people of the queer community that are black, brown, whatever. So their voices need to be heard, and we need to continue to support all that support us. And if you don't support us, Terry Crews, you'll be left behind.
Agree, 3,000,000%. So I just really wanted to come on this platform to denounce all forms of hate, and I think many people would agree with that. But I do think, Lauren, that there is much work to be done to protect the black GLBT community. Specifically, I'm wrapping my arms around the black trans women, black trans experience, because it is, I don't want it to be used as a spectacle. People just go out and watch the shows and enjoy the shows, but then nobody supports them. You putting $1 in their underwear or their cute dress or their blouse is not supporting our community. We need to love on them and protect them and do a lot more for that community, myself included. Like after the show's done, after the curtain is drawn, where are they left to go? What are they left to do? What are they left with? Who is protecting them at the midnight hour? Certainly not our men of color.
Right. And I have to do my own reading and research education because I'm not as versed on their community as well, but it's something I have to educate myself on more and just be willing to step in and be the ally that they deserve.
Right. Because we also know that every time we leave our house as black people, we are at the risk of losing our life. And being a queer person, a gay person, a non-straight person, it is double, triple the risk. And now, because you know, for me, Lauren, quite honestly, and I'm a masculine looking dude, so it's not as big of a risk. But sometimes, you know, the people I hang around is not as masculine, so people know, because I heavily identify, I'm out, like I'm not hidden. We have nobody that has our back. I feel like we're just alone in this world. Like you said, we have to take care of ourselves, but damn it, we've been doing that for years. And that's why we're continuing to be oppressed and continue to be beaten and killed in the streets. And now I'm talking about all black people. That's why we have to march. Like, we shouldn't even have to debate this issue
exactly
in the 21st century, let alone 2020. Like, we're still talking about just having a seat at the table, just getting jobs, just having a voice. We're still talking about the same stuff. Like, we are all human beings still, like, begging for mercy. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And so then people are outraged that you're tearing up shit. Well, we're tearing up stuff because nobody's listening to us. Had we not done everything, had everything not transpired exactly the way it did, Lauren, nothing would be happening.
Right, exactly right.
They would have said, oh, well, we're going to do an investigation and we'll let you know what's going to happen. 3 days later, somebody would have got off and everybody would have went home and we would have been back to watching our favorite TV shows, listening to our favorite music, and wondering how we're going to beat COVID-19. So unless we make some noise, and again, I don't condone it, but I certainly understand. I'm not condoning it, but I certainly for damn sure understand why it happened the way it happened. So sometimes you got to make some noise. We are not our grandparents, and I've said that for the past couple shows. We are not as good as Martin Luther King. Sometimes we got to knock over a table. When people get mad, they sometimes hit their fist through a wall. They sometimes kick a damn door. And it just so happened this time, Lauren, that they kicked down the damn door.
Right.
So now you have to listen. Now these white mayors and white governors, they have to get out and march, and that's what they've been doing. Now, is everybody going to come along for the right? No. Because we got the Candace Owens of the world. If you don't know her, look her black ass up. We also got a whole host of white people who are certainly not going to come with us, because if you look at Trump's rating, I think it's 43 to Biden's 57 or whatever the math is. Like, he is still performing quite well doing all this.
Exactly.
So let's not forget how well Trump is still performing in these polls. Don't get all fired up like, oh, I just know Biden's going to win, and then your ass don't go out and vote, because that is dangerous and reckless. You have to vote, Lauren.
Oh, I know. And for all those people who think they have to hold their vote,
Oh,
you're going to
please.
be like Diddy and hold a black vote. You're going to get more Trump
Okay.
than you ever wished for.
Listen, if y'all do that, because they had a little study that came out, I wish I had it in front of me maybe for the next show. It's like, if this many people voted, Hillary would have won. If this many people voted in this state, she would have won. And these weren't even big numbers. Some of them were like 1,900, 12,000, 20,000. And then it had side-by-side comparisons how many people didn't vote. So she lost by 20,000 vote, but 50,000 black people didn't vote. So y'all got to get y'all black ass, because I'm telling you, don't wait on Superman to save you. Don't wait on somebody white to come save you this time. All we got to do, Lauren, is show up.
Yeah.
Now listen, I welcome every culture to join in on the experience. I welcome Asians and Hispanics and white people to certainly vote the trash out of the White House we currently have. But I will always say this, like you just said, we got to look out for ourselves, because we always have. We have to do our own heavy lifting. We always have. Who the hell you think, Lauren, built America?
Exactly.
We physically did it. We physically built America while we were getting our backs whipped with chains and whatever the hell else they felt like beating us with. That's all I'm saying.
And that's the part I think that's finally hitting folks. They're finally seeing that we haven't been paid the debt for the sacrifices made on our bodies and families and ancestors to build this country. Like, black bodies built this country. The wealth to start a million companies, the old money, white new money, it's all because of us.
Absolutely.
And we should have every bit of it. But because we're good Christian folks, we just want what's owed.
I'm not that good. I need to be a better one. I'm not that good, though. You're a much better person than I am. Most people around me are much more polite than I could ever be. Like, I'm going to be outspoken about almost everything. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I think now we're done talking, Lauren, to be honest. We're done talking about it. We can have a prepared conversation, but it's going to take more than just, come to my office, let's have coffee, and let's discuss the issues. Nope, we know what the issues are. We've seen firsthand what the issues are. Look at our unemployment. Look at our education system. Look at our housing crisis. Let's look at the gay black experience. Let's look at our trans people in America. And that's all you need to do. I don't need no more conversations. I already seen it. I want stuff to change, and here's what I want. I want something tangible. I want a seat at the table, and I want some money. I want something to physically happen. I want housing for all my gay black brothers and sisters who have nowhere to live. Those young kids who have been disowned, beaten, spit on, and put out by their own family. That's what I want. Right. I want housing for them. I want food for them. I want clothing for them. I want somebody to give them a hand. Because trust me, they'll work for it. They will certainly work for it. But I want somebody to give them an opportunity. They need somewhere to live. They need somewhere to belong to. This is why, for those who don't know, and what we'll be talking about in future episodes, is the gay house and what that is and what that looks like and why they were started. It is so important, Lauren, to be able to connect with our brothers and sisters, and we got to hold on to them very, very tight. Lauren, tell the people where they can find you once again before we get out of here, please.
All right. You can find me on all socials at Philip Winslow. That's THLLP_WNSLW on Twitter, Philip Winslow on Instagram. And then you can find my podcast, which is Stephion-lives-here, on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, the whole 9 yards there. We're on Instagram and Twitter at AS Podcast, as well as Facebook. And you can hit up the website, streamablelive.wordpress.com.
And you can always join us on Spreaker.com and type in the Kings of the Village, or you can check us out on all streaming platforms as well. We're on Google and Apple Podcast. We're on just a bunch of stuff like you are. And then you can always stay connected with us on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, and all that kind of stuff. And always email your comments, questions, or concerns or statements to kingsofthevillage@yahoo.com. I am so excited to have my brother from Indiana, another Hoosier, Lauren from A Streamable Life, which is, y'all need to go check that out. They talk about some deep stuff too. They be talking, but it ain't nothing deep like this. But they're gonna be talking about some movie that came out or some song that came out. So listen, if you need a breath of fresh air because this is heavy stuff, Lauren. This is heavy. These conversations ain't easy for us, because we're putting it all out there, and we will continue to do so. But working for equality and equal rights and black experiences and gay black experiences is not always fun to talk about. It's cute at times because we got cute outfits and, we slay and we shablam all over the runway. It's cute, but it ain't always fun. It's rough being black and gay.
Right.
It's rough being black. It's rough being a black man in America. It's tough. So I appreciate you being a part of the conversation. I appreciate you listening to us. Coming up on episode 13, we will be talking about the gay house movement and why it was started. And I want some of y'all to do your homework before the next show. Go out and watch Paris is Burning. That will help you get a better understanding and a look inside to the gay house experience and why it was starting. And then next time we'll talk about it. Lauren, thank you so much. And thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you. Go out and make it a perfect day and do something now. Start where you are and make a difference.
Thank you.